Whenever you purchase a niche fragrance, you know you are going to commit a lot of money. Hence why I think making a video about the niche fragrance purchases that I regret is quite important for you guys to make sure you do not make the same mistakes that I made. We got 8 fragrances here today that I regret purchasing. I'm going to tell you why, give you my reasoning, and maybe give you a life lesson with each story. So hopefully you guys learn a lot from this video. Let's begin. Xerjoff Torino21. This is a recent fragrance purchase, which I actually think I made out of confusion. So maybe that's the lesson from this. Don't be confused. Learn. Be knowledgeable, because I think back in the day I tested Xerjoff's Torino22 a long time ago, like last year, and I really liked it on a paper strip. Now I think Torino21, maybe I got confused between the two of them, and I bought that thinking that was the one I smelled. That was the fragrance that has a lot of hype on Fragrantica as well. Maybe that's another lesson also. Don't buy into the hype. Just because other people hype up a fragrance doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be for you. Torino21 is very powerful, musky lemon perfumery with a hint of greenness from basil and mint. I can understand why it's hyped. It feels like it's a niche version of something like Lacoste White, in my opinion. It's powerful. Long-lasting lemon is not easy to do, so I respect the fragrance for that. However, I feel like the fragrance is a bit too harsh, aggressive, and abrasive for my taste personally. So in my opinion, I regret making this purchase. I'm probably going to try and sell it at some point or donate it soon, because I don't think I'll ever reach for it, honestly. I personally prefer Torino22. Acqua di Parma Sandalo. When I first tried this fragrance in store, I fell in love with it. If you don't know, guys, sandalwood is one of my favorite notes in perfumery. It's thick, creamy, and this fragrance is that Cologne barbershop DNA with a very thick, heavy, creamy sandalwood. It's more for cold weather. It feels like a very elegant, mature man's office fragrance for any season outside of the summertime. 12 hours longevity, immediate projection, impressive performer. However, I do feel like now I found more interesting and better sandalwood fragrances that I gravitate towards too, such as Encelade by Marc-Antoine Barrois, which has more interesting notes like rhubarb and vetiver mixed with that creamy sandalwoods. I feel like those creamy, milky sandalwood scents can really create a fantastic sillage. I remember complimenting a waiter in one of my travels a few years back who was wearing Santal blush by Tom Ford. Again, just a fantastic sandalwood sillage, just powerful. It's actually a very strongly projecting note, but I just feel like Sandalo just feels a bit too formal, a little bit too serious. I just don't find myself reaching out for it. So although I was happy with it in my collection at one point, nowadays I'm not really happy with it being there. I feel like it's taking space unnecessarily. 37.9% of people who watch School of Scent are subscribed to us. If you guys really want to see our channel grow, go ahead and click subscribe. Let's get that number to 40%. Thank you. Mancera Instant Crush. Now, a lot of you guys love this fragrance. This is sort of like Mancera's take on something like Baccarat Rouge. This is very thick, creamy, vanilla, with florals in here as well. This is the thicker, more beastly, and more intense version of Baccarat Rouge, which is already an intense fragrance. I respect that this probably has a high compliment factor. It's very unisex in my opinion, maybe leaning a little bit feminine. I feel like if you want a loud, sweet vanilla fragrance, this is the one to go for, but it smells too synthetic. It really is what I hated about Mancera back in the earlier days. I feel like their later fragrances are better. If I want a sweet scent from Mancera nowadays, of course, guys, I'm gonna say it, go for Amore Caffè. That's my preference nowadays. Instant Crush is cool, it's a nice idea, but I would personally rather go for the original Baccarat Rouge, so that's my lesson for this entrance here. If you feel like the original fragrance that it's trying to copy is getting a lot of hate, go for it anyways. It doesn't matter what the haters say. If you enjoy fragrance, you get it. I personally love Baccarat Rouge, even though a lot of people say it's overhyped. The Labo Santal 33. This is a very popular fragrance that's very polarized. The lesson from this fragrance is always try fragrances on your skin, because some of them can just smell funky on you. To me, this is dill pickle juice with dry pencil shavings. One of the most popular fragrances from Le Labo, but I don't really understand why. It's a great performer, but I just think it smells horrible. And I can smell it in the air often when I travel or when I go to other countries. I feel like it's a very popular scent. It's just been recreated in all sorts of different products like air fresheners and things like that. I don't see the reason why. I don't really like it, but I feel like, again, if you're a hipster, you like that really dry, woody kind of style, maybe that's what Santal 33, that's the kind of person that that fragrance is designed for. So maybe try it out, check it out. Don't hate on it just because I don't like it. It may work great on your skin, may be a style that you like. Parfum de Marly's Kalan. This is a fragrance that I got after trying it in store, in fairness. I really liked it. I was actually quite surprised by how much hate it got. I thought it was quite a cool, interesting idea of being very intense black pepper mixed with a very realistic blood orange, dry and down to some more soft woods later on. So it was sort of spicy, woody, citrus, and I thought it was an interesting signature. You don't really wear it in the summertime, but hey, it got great performance, great quality. I respected PDM's direction more back in those days when it was a bit more niche, as opposed to being just kind of over-glorified designer nowadays, unfortunately. I do think Kalan was a cool idea, but I think it's that opening is what made a lot of people go off it, and that's, to me, is the main reason I regret buying it. If you think a fragrance is cool overall, but has one part that just feels a bit too pungent to you, then I'd say don't get it. I feel like you have to enjoy all the parts of a fragrance, unless, hey, like the opening first 5 seconds is the only thing you don't like. Okay, if it's 5 seconds, that's fine, but if it's an opening that lasts at least 30 minutes or so, you know, even 10 minutes, do you want to be applying a fragrance like that on yourself often? Especially if you're a collector, you'll probably subconsciously gravitate away from that and just go for fragrances you enjoy the entire creation of. So I see that as the lesson of Kalan. Don't go for fragrances that you think are an 8 out of 10 per se. Let's go for fragrances that are 10 out of 10s for you. Only go for quality, not quantity. Man Amouage Reflection Man, the original. Now bear in mind, I now own Reflection 45, which I got for free from Mancera. I think they sent it to me, and I love that fragrance. I think it's cool, but even that fragrance I don't wear that often. The original Reflection Man is white floral, woody, a little bit sweet, vanillic, bright and handsome. I can see why people like it. It's a very luxurious signature, more suited to the warm weather. Sort of like Le Male became niche and creative and artistic. But to me, I never really got the hype of the fragrance. Well, I kind of do. I think it is a great scent. It's beautifully blended, has a solid performance. I think Reflection 45 is a more interesting flanker, has more going on, it's more thick, interesting, got powdery, creative iris in there, which is really cool. But to me, Reflection Man, the original, proves the point of that a fragrance can be great. You can think it's objectively great, but that doesn't necessarily mean you need to have it because of subjective opinion. If you subjectively just don't like a fragrance, doesn't mesh with you and your style, that's fine. Dior Homme Intense is another fragrance I think is a 10 out of 10, but I don't really reach for it. It's not my style. So that's a lesson from this entrance. Bottle number 9, Bleecker Street. Bottle number 9 in general, I don't think it's a very impressive brand. A lot of their scents I've smelled just aren't that impressive. They don't get talked about that much. One of their more popular fragrances is Lafayette Street, which I do own a full bottle of. I think that's a good purchase, but again, it's quite designer-esque. And another popular scent from them is Bleecker Street, that green psychedelic bottle that to me smelled like it was their take of something like Green Irish Tweed by Creed mixed with a synthetic blueberry noted here. And it just smelled like a synthetic fragrance overall, and it just didn't smell right to me. It just smelled weird. I think it had like blueberry, caramel, and then it was green. I feel like it was a bit of a mess of a fragrance. I feel like the reviews for it were too positive. I think it's a cool idea, done poorly. I don't recommend it. So what's the lesson here? I'm gonna kind of force a lesson into this entrance. I guess look at the notes, but don't always expect great results from a note breakdown you think looks good, because sometimes the perfumer just executes things not as good or not as well as they should. So things can be disappointing in that way. Try before you buy is what I'm saying. And I'll finish off with a sort of double entrance that matches the same lesson from both of these entrants. And that is going to be Montale's Chocolate Greedy and Mancera's Tonka Cola. Now, both of these are quite interesting, probably gourmand-esque fragrances. Tonka Cola is a better fragrance in my opinion. It is tonka bean, cherry, Coca-Cola, mixed with a lot of muskiness in here, patchouli. Beautiful signature scent that is creative in its own weird way. And then Montale Chocolate Greedy smells vanillic, smells like dark chocolate. Not dark chocolate, I would say it smells more like Kinder Bueno chocolate, sort of like that milky chocolate. Dark chocolate would be more something like Black Phantom by Kilian. The problem with both of these fragrances, even though I liked Tonka Cola, I don't really like Chocolate Greedy, is the fact that it is tough to wear these scents. And I think that's a big lesson here. You have to wonder to yourself before you make any purchase, are you actually going to wear these fragrances? Are they too weird and too strange to be worn in certain occasions? Because then at that point, what kind of value are you going to get from them? Are you going to get enough value for your money when you pay for them? Or at the same time, you can't just ignore that advice and say to yourself, okay, I like these for artistic merit. I have some fragrances in my collection I don't really wear, but I like them for artistic merit, just smelling them every once in a while. Such as Tobacco Vanille by Tom Ford. I actually don't wear that fragrance ever, but I still have it in my collection. I still like it, having it there. But some other fragrances, like these two, even though it might be great, I just don't find them practical enough to wear. And that concludes this video, guys. Of course, it can be eye-wateringly expensive when you're purchasing a niche fragrance, so we gotta be careful with what we go for. Have you guys ever made a niche fragrance purchase that you regret? Let us know in the comments down below, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to check out my previous video on general fragrances I regret buying, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.